Well, okie dokie. I always have to wait until there's, I don't know, I don't know. It's like I'll read the lesson, do stuff, and read the lesson again. And they're so plaintive, there's nothing, and the fact that I can't do them for someone else is obvious. The fact that I could only, maybe provide motivation for people to want to do them by sharing whatever it is I'm given to share is a possibility. And until I really find in my heart or my mind opens up, I really don't know how this process works for me, other than it seems every day, although I have no idea what I'm going to talk about when I go to do this lesson, and I don't go to do the lesson until there is something I can share. Every day, somehow, my mind gets open by something, by something, it's by the Holy Spirit, of course, but through like reading the words on the page and being willing to do this because I was asked to do it. And today, I guess it's no different because there's something in this that just sort of, clicked and opened up, and something I could relate to experientially that perhaps in sharing the experience I have maybe provides a motivation or inspiration or something for other people to sort of get on board with the doing of these lessons and the practical nature of what they're offering. So today's lesson 130, is impossible to see two worlds. There's a line, and let me see if I could find it again. Where is it? Today, okay, let me read. Fear has made everything you think you see. All separation, all distinctions, and the multitude of differences you believe make up the world. They are not there. Love's enemy has made them up, yet love can have no enemy, and so they have no cause, no being, and no consequence. That's a bit of the use of a paradox to focus your mind onto a single point that allows you, as I keep saying, our mind is split. So there's things that they're something and there's something it's not. That's what the split is. That's what duality is. There's something and there's also something that's not. There's a world and there's a heaven. There's a car and then there's no car. That's what this is all about. And we have this split in our mind, and it operates in everything. So we see the split in everything. We see the split within ourselves. We need to, our heart and our mind don't seem to function together. We could think one way yet feel another. We look outside of us and see something that's not us. And then we try to find out what is us by eliminating what isn't us. That's what the nature of duality is, and that's the nature of separation. And that's how the split mind works. This is going to get to the point of denying you have a split mind is useless. The admission that you've already had a split mind and are in that condition allows you to make a new choice, to reject the old choice in its entirety so that a new choice can be made right here, right now, so you can see another world. And that's the part I want to get to, but let me keep reading this because I'm going to tell you, I'll talk about how this happened for me. Love's enemy has made them up. Yet, how could love have an enemy if love is all there is? It's all encompassing. It is what God is, so therefore it is what you and I are. That doesn't mean there isn't the ability to dream a dream of something other than love, which is what this is. But the love that we're looking for cannot be found within the dream of its opposite, because the entirety is the opposite to love, made to be opposite, and held us in a position where love can't be found, or our version of love that we make up can be lost because it's like everything else. It's temporary, it's not true, it's not whole, it's not real. So they can be valued. So so now with this little paradox. They are not love, yet love's enemy has made them, yet love can have no enemy. And so they have no cause, no being, and no consequence. Okay? It doesn't seem that way to you. Okay? That's a concept. That's a concept that the Course is using. A paradoxical concept that the Course is using in order to help you use it to heal your mind as a principle when we apply it. Okay? So now we have this split in our mind, and we have love and we have love's enemy. Okay. If we focus our mind on that paradox without attempting to use anything of the past that we have learned, therefore nothing of the illusion of space and time that we attempt to bring into this moment, and hold our attention, our focus, our thought, our mind on that paradox, and don't fill the gap between those thoughts, what happens is the Holy Spirit has room, has space to insert his light. And because that light is total, even the most minute quantity of it you're willing to let in, when you let in any of it, you let in all of it at once. And that shows you in a way to understand the paradox as being unreal, and the light and its totality of oneness that it's introducing as the solution to be real. Therefore, not making the paradox real, demonstrating that the paradox is part of the unreality, does not exist and has no cause, so that you can see what the reality is, and now you have this comparison that can be utilized by looking at everything within the nature of the light that was given to you by the use of the paradox to heal your mind of that split for a single instant. And now you have a way to look out at everything else and begin to see what's really happening. When you remember that you've had this light experience, the correction of the Holy Spirit, which doesn't prove anything wrong, not you. It doesn't prove in a sense that you are wrong. It proves that the way you've been thinking has been wrong, not you, because the light brings you back to the reality of yourself, which has always been whole, always been perfect, and never been defective, because God does not create anything defective. He only creates wholeness and perfection, and that's what you are, and that's what you remain. So let me continue. They can be valued, but remain unreal. They can be sought, but they cannot be found. Today we will not seek for them, nor waste this day in seeking for what cannot be found. It is impossible to see two worlds, which have no overlap of any kind. Seek for one, the other disappears. There's another, it's a concept, but it's another principle by which we can begin to utilize in our practice, and in the honesty and the integrity that our mind demands, we can use it to make simple admissions that when we're seeing the unreal world of illusion and stuck in the belief that it's real because we're feeling the effects, which are fear and guilt, we can know we have made a poor choice. Not that we're wrong, not that we're evil, not that we're defective, not that we're going to be punished. The only punishment that we receive for seeing an unreal world and thinking that it's our reality is the experience of dissatisfaction and discomfort that we impose upon ourselves in the instant of identification, and the continuing to maintain that identification until we choose again. We go back to the spot in our mind where we chose wrongly, choose again, and the correction comes and brings us forward past in an instant, rather than traveling the timeline, this line, this horizontal line that seems to be endlessly made up of increments. Okay? Seek for one and the other disappears, but one remains. Now here we go. They are the range of choice beyond which your decision cannot go. The real and the unreal are all there is to choose between, and nothing more than these. That's a basic statement of the dualistic nature of our mind, in the thought that there is something that something is, and then things that it's not. Okay, that's what we're trying to get out of. That's the thinking we're trying to relieve ourselves from. Not through proving the things that we think are true, are there, are really there, and the things that we don't think are there aren't there, but by relieving us of the entirety of that thinking and show us another world where the ability to think like that no longer exists. That's what reality is. Singular, whole, perfect, eternal, infinite, abundant in love, and the extension of love, as it's the way it creates, okay? Today, we will attempt no compromise where none is possible. Here, this is the line I wanted to get to. The world you see is proof you have already made a choice, as all embracing as its opposite, okay? What we would learn today is more than just the lesson you cannot see two worlds. It also teaches that the one you see is quite consistent from the point of view which you see it. It is all a piece because it stems from one emotion and reflects its source in everything you see, okay? So we're saying vision, see, what you see is total. You either see what you're seeing in its entirety. Now, what this is saying to you is admit it. Because you are already seeing it, it's the admission that you already made the choice. That's the fundamental admission. That's the fundamental basic admission that everyone must come to in their own mind and stop adjudicating. We've already made that choice, period. Okay? Now, that's the baseline. Like in Alcoholics Anonymous, a 12-step program. The fundamental admission is, oh, I'm an alcoholic. When I drink, I get drunk. My life is unmanageable. I turn my power over to it, and I lose everything. So today, just for today, I'm not going to pick up. Just for today, just for right now, I'm not going to pick up. Because I already know what happens in the world that I pick up in. Okay? I already know I've done that. I see what has happened. I don't want to do that anymore. So the fundamental admission is, if I don't do that, something different can happen. Okay? That's what this is saying. You've already done it. Admit that you've already done it and just not want to do it. That's it. Not figure out how not to do it. Not figure out what's going to happen if I don't do it. Just simply recognize, okay, the past is gone. I do not want to do anything that I've done in the past right here, right now. And stop. Now, something else is capable of dawning in your mind of itself because you've given it space to be seen in you simply by the admission of what you've already done and the desire not to do it. Because the desire not to do it in its entirety is how you express the desire for the other world in its entirety. It's a single action of mind now. Now your mind is unified by a single action. For me, this is what happened when I was 19 years old and I was walking down the road and Jesus said to me, "Are you ready yet to help me save the world?" Save the world. My first thought was, obviously, you're perfect. Look what they did to you. I'm not perfect. I can imagine what they're going to do to me. And that was a no. Okay? 19 years old. Now, here I am, 33 later. I'm 33 years old. I'm walking down a road in a forest in the woods. And the voice says to me, "Are you ready yet to save the world?" Okay. When I heard that voice that time, I remembered it took me back to the moment when I first heard the voice and I said no. Okay? realizing I had said no, I likewise realized that my denial of saying no to the voice then produced such a condition of pain and suffering that I went to the lengths of using any drug I could find, drugs and alcohol, to ward off that pain. And I could see that all the pain that I used to fuel my addiction came from that moment of saying no. I also recognized that in that instant, I had already said no, and if I continued to say no, I could not get anything different than I was already getting. So obviously, I didn't know what I was going to get. I already knew what I had, and I didn't want it. So I said, okay, yes, something entirely different happened. First thing that happened was, from the moment, the pain and suffering, from the instant that I made the rejection of the voice in the first place at 19, to the moment that I had just said yes, space and time collapsed, took all of my reasons for suffering out of it. This is Jesus and the Holy Spirit. Removed all of the reasons for my suffering. All of the fuel that I had to continue in the addiction was gone. I knew I no longer had a reason to utilize the substances to ward off the suffering, because the suffering was gone. Space and time collapsed, and it was simply gone, all the suffering. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't have things to heal from before, but I did see a mini moment of what this is addressing. Now, of course, the next thing he said to me is, you're doing this to yourself. And that was like putting a key in a lock that I didn't know I had. And I realized he was talking about doing it in its entirety. I saw the entire nature of this as being an illusion of my own making, saw that I had made the illusion, recognized that I didn't have to do it any longer, and there was going to be a way given to me that I didn't. And that was what A Course in Miracles came to be. And that was my pursuit. The recognition that I no longer have to do it, in following of the guidance and the direction I got. And in that instant, I stopped being afraid of God, because I saw that God was not causing me the fear of him. It was my own rejection of him, just as I had rejected Jesus. So I no longer had a reason to reject God. And in that instant, I was beyond the dream of space and time, in the presence. And I don't know how to speak of this. We cannot speak. I can talk about it. God revealed himself to me as being love, and therefore so am I. And that love had no opposition, because it was all there is, when I keep rendering everything else an illusion. So when I was returned to my mundane state of consciousness, I recognized this as a dream in its entirety, knowing it wasn't reality. And the recognition of what reality is has remained with me as the light of my mind ever since. Now, from then on, it's just cleaning up backwards the mess that I had made of my own space-time, of the space-time I had utilized to deny. And that's all I've spent my time, is healing my mind. And this is a perfect teaching, an example in this lesson of how it occurs. That's the best I can share with you. I can't do it for you, because the choice has got to be yours. I was told, God wills not. God's will is not for the destruction of anything, including your illusion of space and time, and my illusion of space and time. Because number one, how can you destroy an illusion, something that doesn't exist, and isn't in the reality? And number two is, there is no destruction in God. God is only love. So even if it was real, it wouldn't have the ability to be destroyed. But it is God's will that each and every one of us choose for ourselves. Choose for ourselves reality, because we have already know what the illusion is. We already know what it does, how it operates. It would be senseless. Now, I can get into a whole other thing about the Old Testament. The Old Testament was always the ability to present the choice based on the utilization of symbolic situations, much as Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah, or Moses and taking the Israelites with them out of Egypt. There's all Noah and the flood. We have all these. way back even to Cain and Abel. It's all been presenting us with this story. But until Jesus, no one had made the true choice. So there was never a true story. There was always representations of the ability for the story to be made true without anybody having been made true. So it was a representative of good versus evil, and with the recognition that evil existed, rather than the fact that it was a choice between good and nothing, totality and nothing, reality and illusion. That's what came with Jesus, and that's why his is a New Testament. And you're living in the New Testament, and in one sense, this is the Third Testament. This is where we all get to make the choice ourselves based on the ability to use Jesus as the demonstration of how choosing is done and what goes on as we live in the resurrection. So that's just my story for you. So remember, you can't see two worlds. And this is the way in which you can come to recognize you can't see two worlds, by the admission that the world you're seeing is one that you don't want, and not continuing to think the choices in anything in the past of the world that you thought you saw, so the new one can be dawn upon you. Now, you're not going to see that with the body's eyes, but you are going to see it through the utilization and the opening of your third eye, your spiritual eye, to light, and seeing it seeing reality right where the illusion seems to be. Your body's eyes may continue to see this for a moment, but your mind and heart won't be confused as to who you are, what this is, what it isn't, and what reality is, with the recognition that this isn't it. More than that, I cannot speak, nor be it necessary. But the choice is always yours. Choice is always mine. Can't see two worlds, for heaven's sake.